Hello founders! In this video series, I'm going to walk you through the 10 truths of what it's really like to raise pre-seed and seed funding. I'm going to give you the parts one at a time because I'm going to give you the truth. Also, I'm going to give you an action plan or an action item to implement right away to execute so you can help yourself raise that pre-seed or seed funding. Before we continue, my name is Ed Kang, 7-time funded founder, 2-time exit. Just means I've failed a bunch of times. I like to use my social media and videos like this to help especially early stage founders reduce the chances of failure. It's not that you're not going to fail. I just don't want you to fail as much as I have or make those catastrophic mistakes. In my day, I've raised pre-seed and seed funding in checks of $5,000, $10,000, $50,000, $250,000 at a time. And I'm going to share with you these 10 truths that I've learned along the way while also advising over 1,000 founders, overseeing 1,000 founders in our accelerator program. Here we go. Truth number one is that raising pre-seed and seed funding is a lifestyle. It is not a glamorous lifestyle whatsoever. When you read TechCrunch or you're looking at all those founders that just seem to talk about fundraising like it's just a foregone conclusion, that's what they did and they share. Fundraising is a thankless, insufferable process. Just like, even when you get that check in, it's so anticlimactic. I think if any of you are listening to this and you have raised funding before, or you talk to founders that have raised large checks before, it's almost anticlimactic because you've worked so hard and you're so burned, your nerves are frayed because of the due diligence and you're just on pins and needles right before. But then when that check comes in, you start thinking to yourself, now I have to get to work. Or you start thinking about, man, how are we going to use this money? I've got a new boss, new investors to go and build the startup so I can raise more money in the future. That's what happens. But it is a lifestyle. I want to share with you an expression that you might have heard, especially in the fitness community, and that is you cannot outtrain a bad diet. In the same way, you cannot out-fundraise a bad startup. When you are trying to get healthy, as I have constantly been working on basically my whole life, it's something that I struggle with. You can't just eat what you want and do what you want as far as nutrition 90% of your time, and then take 10% of your time, get into the gym and run your tail off on the treadmill, lift those weights, and expect that to move the needle when it comes to your overall health. Doesn't work that way. What you need to do is set an intentional and disciplined lifestyle where you have the right mindset to always be thinking healthy. They say, get your mind healthy and start acting healthy, and then your body will naturally follow. Well, the same thing happens with fundraising. I see so many founders make this mistake where they say, all right, I'm just going to dedicate 10% of my time raising funding for one reason or another. I don't have time, or I don't think I'm good enough to raise that funding, and then I'm going to do all the other stuff for 90% of my time, and then think that you're just going to turn on the tap and those checks are going to roll in. It just doesn't work like that. That'd be the same exact thing as me saying, all right, I'm just going to eat what I want 90% of the time, and then somehow magically 10% of my time, I'm going to get healthy by going to the gym. If you're thinking it's a lifestyle, how are you in the mindset of fundraising in everything that you do? Let's not make fundraising just allocated to the 10% of time, but let's make fundraising a holistic approach to everything you do as a founder. And I want you to try this. Here's your action item. Go and do a calendar audit. Go through your week and figure out, all right, where did I spend my time this week, and literally track it in the calendar. Go to Outlook or Google Calendar and just block out your time after the fact. You can do this, no problem, and say, all right, I spent an hour answering emails. I spent 2 hours coding product. I spent 1 hour reading surveys from my customer discovery strategy that we're implementing. And then see, and you'll start to see, well, I spent an hour doing Netflix and I spent an hour just talking or wasting my time procrastinating. And look at your sleep schedule as well and do this audit. Because in the end, what I want you to do is try and allocate your calendar time to 40, 40, 20. 40% to building your startup, 40% to getting feedback from either users, prospects, or investors, part of the fundraise, because it all contributes to that feedback loop, and then 20% to self-care. 20% self-care. And a lot of people don't imagine going to self-care, but hey, I started this off with a fitness tip. We're going to continue on with that, and we're going to worry about your overall mental and physical health. Once again, 40% building a product. Do what it takes. Focus, focus, focus. And by the way, this doesn't include sleep. I want 40% of your time outside of sleep. And sleep, you want to allocate a solid 7 to 8 hours, 9 hours if you can, because trust me, it's going to work. I like to think 8 hours because that divides my time up nicely and I got 16 hours during the day. 40% to building the product. Focus on that. Then 40% to going out there and talking to users and investors and getting feedback on the progress of your product or the progress of your startup and getting feedback from those investors. And then 20% of your time, you're going to look at things such as going for a walk, getting a massage, going to counseling, spending time with friends, procrastinating appropriately and saying, you know what, I've got an hour, I'm going to catch up on my Netflix shows or I'm going to watch YouTube. That is okay. Giving yourself permission, practicing some self-compassion and saying, this is healthy for me, especially when it comes to that emotional capacity and that support that you need from the world around you. Spend that time, allocate it to fill your soul, fill that emotional tank so you don't get drained, because this is extremely hard. Even when working with your co-founders or with your team, allocate that time. I have a weekly meeting and a lunch where I go out with my team and we spend time eating really good food or floofy coffee drinks, something like that. And we talk about everything except our action items, what we have to do. There's nothing that's assigned. We talk about work, but we unload and we debrief and we blow off some steam and we joke around a lot. And we try and find the lighter side of things because it's good for our mental health. Now, the result of this is that your time, which is the biggest friction point for making this a lifestyle, because we tend to get caught up doing the things that feel urgent, but they're actually not important. Your time is going to be that friction point. And once you relieve that, then you've got the room and you've got a system, a framework to make fundraising a lifestyle. Because you never know when you are going to be called into action or when you need to access those fundraising skills that you're developing, that you're in that mindset. I lucked out. I was lucky and I met my first investor, my first angel investor, capital partner, and we have been partners for going on 30 years now. And I just by chance happened to meet him in a college class. And some people may say, oh, wow, Ed, you were so lucky. But my mindset, I was prepared for the pitch. I recognized him. We became friends. We began talking. And after I realized, hey, wait a second, this guy has some capital and he's willing to make investment, I said, I got a great idea for you. I didn't even have to have a pitch deck or formal presentation. I just began talking to him informally. And then the first check was written. And that's going to go into another part that we're going to talk about in the future and how easy you can make this on yourself. They say fortune favors the prepared mind. You have to work really hard, be disciplined to get lucky. If you're not working hard and you're not prepared, you're never going to take advantage of those lucky opportunities that seem like luck, but you're going to be well prepped for that. So do your calendar exercise, figure that out, and get ready to make this a lifestyle, not a glamorous one. It is not glamorous. When you see all those people talk about it like it's some glamorous thing, it is not. Like I told you, it is insufferable. It's one of the hardest things that you are going to do. So don't let other parts of your life create the friction and make it even harder. There's part one for you. Look forward to sharing with you in part two. Stick around. It's going to be coming soon. Do the social media thing. In the meantime, like, comment, subscribe, and I appreciate all the comments and the feedback that I continually get. And if you're part of any of my accelerator programs, you're with me in the community at startups.com, anywhere else, you're following me on social media, we're interacting. Thank you so much for your support. I will see you in the next video.